Everybody, Ben Green here, and since I'm a very, very lazy man, I've decided that I'm not going to actually write anything for this blog post. I'm just going to do a video like this and tell you what I'm thinking. I might write a couple of things, but probably not. I recently watched a documentary on Netflix. It's on the Interview. It's called Easy-CLeanflix, and it's all about this Mormon guy or this group of people, mostly Mormons, I don't know, coincidentally. And what they would do is they would take regular movies, say they were rated R, and they would re-edit them, and they would cut out the parts with excessive violence, or uh, nudity, sex, any kind of content they didn't really agree with, or sort of went against their ideas, religious ideas, morality, that sort of thing. And it's a great documentary to watch because it's interesting what happened to them. They kind of went under the radar for a long, long time, and they were really, really popular among their customers. Eventually, they started to get a little too daring, and the movie industry shut them down. But there's still these edited movies are still available actually in various places. Like they're under a kind of a guise of academia or something like that. Like you can re-edit it for academic purposes, something like that. Now, the reason why I mention this is not a review video at all. This isn't a chase this, even though I think you should chase Cleanflix. It's my thoughts on this re-editing of the movie. And this is what I don't really understand is, people will say, okay, say there's a movie like Django Unchained, and, let's re-edit Django to not have as much violence in it, and not as much profanity or vulgarity or sexual, that kind of stuff. And, in the documentary they have people saying, oh, I really want to see these movies, but I just don't want to be exposed to that. I just don't want to see that. And my response initially is, no, you don't really want to see those movies, because if you did, you wouldn't watch a different movie. Because as a filmmaker, I find the idea of recutting someone else's work like that and leaving their names on it as though that is their work offensive and appalling. And I don't, and I'm not trying to go at somebody's morality or their moral code. I have nothing against that. If you put yourself at a higher standard and you don't like those things, that's fine. You don't want to see violence on TV, that's fine. And I'm not against that at all. But what I'm against as a filmmaker and as an artist is censorship and recutting someone's work and not calling it something different. Like as far as, the whole issue, if a DJ takes a sample and remixes it, or if somebody takes clips from old movies and recuts them together and makes something completely different, is that the same kind of thing? And my answer to that is, I think it depends on the context in which it's presented. That's my thoughts about it. But I'm very much against censorship and this kind of recutting, this kind of editing. I think that it's wrong because it's not the artist's original work, and it sounds like it's nitpicking, but it isn't. You gotta know that these people that make this film, even the people that make a terrible movie, have spent months and months, probably at least a year of their life has been devoted to this project. And the movies that you see, they're not random. They don't just happen by accident. The movies that you watch are, most of them are very, very well thought out. There is a guy who makes the decision if those curtains over there should be blue or they should be red. People ask those questions. They say, well, what about the vase on that table over there? Should it be A modern vase, a glass-blown vase, ceramic vase? Should there be flowers in the vase, sticks in the vase? Should it just be there by itself? His grandmother's ashes in the vase? We don't even. All those questions are asked by somebody, and somebody makes that decision. And you probably, most times when you watch a movie, you don't notice those things. You're not necessarily meant to notice it. It's part of the general mood of the scene or the just the feeling it's supposed to convey. But my point is, all those decisions are made by somebody, and something as simple as a cut is made by somebody. There's several people actually who will discuss a single cut, and it seems trivial, just a cut from this to that, but it's not. Somebody says this is the moment where the cut needs to take place, and the director might come in if they're have an influence on it and say, yes, that's exactly right. I felt the same thing. Or no, I don't think the cut should be there. I think it should be 3 frames after that moment. And they will argue about that, and they will discuss that, and it could take hours. And then if a producer comes in who has a lot of control over the project, will say, no, I think that should go 3 frames before the original cut. All this is very well thought. So when somebody comes in hacking and slashing away at a movie that somebody spent a year of their life working on, sometimes more, it really pisses me off. Because I've made projects before, and even on our little projects, it takes a lot of work and a lot of thought and a lot of heart goes into it and a lot of work. Respect the artist.